like this.
Hello and welcome to Lips to Lifestyle, conversations about the lifestyle from the lifestyle. I am the one and only Orlando Roy, aka Orlando, aka the Big Dick Bad Bitch, and sitting right across from me is my amazing nipple slip. Sitting right across from me is my wonderful, amazing co-host Louise.
What up, Brooklyn Lou, aka well-known Tone, Susia and Wasi. What's up?
And we're sitting here with three amazing people that I literally just met, but I can tell from first glance that they are amazing. But please introduce yourselves, all three of you. We're going to have an amazing conversation. I want to make sure that people know your voices. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I'm Evita, Levita Loca Sawyers. I am a non-monogamy content creator, educator, coach, speaker, and now published author. My book, A Polyamory Devotional, 365 Daily Reflections for the Consensually Non-Monogamous, just released in October, and I'm really glad to be here and talking about this with all of you.
Oh, nice.
I love it. My name is...
You can bring your mic over.
I know, I'm like trying to be far away from it.
Yeah.
My name is Melissa Robinson Brown, a.k.a. Dr. Mel. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and a badassery advocate. I help women particularly let go of lives that feel very underwhelming because they've been following too many of societal life templates, step into their badassery, and feel really good rewriting their narrative.
Dang, I gotta go after all of that.
Don't you hate when you got to follow up?
Right. My name is Maximo Extravaganza. I'm a non-binary pansexual, first-generation Brazilian American, creative living in Bushwick, Brooklyn, baby.
Yeah.
I'm a dancer, model, photographer. And I was just recently featured on the show Couple to Thruple with my beautiful partner, Ash. So I am the baby of the group in terms of polyamory, but I feel like I'm excited to get to share my perspective and how Ash and I have been navigating this lifestyle.
Love that. I love that. So I guess I'm going to start with Evita.
Yes.
You know, Evita, polyam coach. Always, it's funny. I was reading your devotional and I was sticking to like one a day. You know, I skipped a few days. And it's some real interesting perspectives. What about polyamory for you personally? What about it was the aha moment when you were coming out of the more, I guess, typical relationship you may have been in before?
So we initially got into non-monogamy for an opportunity for me to explore my sexuality because I was, at that time when I first entered it, married, heterosexually married to a man. But I had never gotten an opportunity to really flesh out my sexuality because we like met in church. It was really strict. I'd gotten this narrative that homosexuality is wrong and, you know, I'm bisexual.
Never heard that narrative before.
Right. Right. And so I've suppressed a lot of it. And once we came out of that church and we just got looser, we got into non-monogamy for an opportunity for me to explore my sexuality. And, you know, it just kind of went from there. So our first like dabble was we went to a strip club together and I watched my then husband at the time get a lap dance. And I was just kind of like, this doesn't really feel that bad, you know? So, and then it was just all these little incidents here and there. We went to a swinger party and then we had the threesome and then we did this and then we did that. And then before we knew it, we were in full on polyamory and, you know, the rest is history. So, yeah.
Awesome. How about you, Dr. Mel?
I think we probably had a conversation maybe almost 10 years ago that, I am married to a queer male, and he was not at the time out as queer, but we had a conversation about 10 years ago where we were like, I think it might be interesting to explore. We started off as a don't ask, don't tell couple, which is interesting because you can go through so many different stages. And then sort of realized that we didn't like that so much and started exploring sort of playing together. During that process, he came out as bi, and we sort of looked at this as an opportunity for us both to explore our sexuality, our sexual experiences. And it's just sort of grown and we've navigated different things since then. Yeah.
How about you, young human?
Yeah, so Ash and I, originally when we first started dating, we both identified in our binaries. I was a man, she was a woman. Through our relationship, we have been able to connect more with our gender identity, myself now connecting with non-binary. and Ash being non-binary and trans, being an AFAB individual. In the beginning of our relationship, I had been primarily dating men, and Ash was primarily dating women right before we got together. And so through our best friendhood, kind of vetting each other out, we're like, what do we not want to bring into this relationship that we had in our previous relationships? And one thing that kept coming up was feeling trapped or feeling like we don't have autonomy over our own decisions and what we can do. And so immediately in the beginning, we kind of just started our own version of non-monogamy, where we just consistently checked in and communicated with each other, and put up different rules and structures. So originally starting, the idea was to stay in touch with our queerness, right? So I would primarily have relationships with men outside of my relationship, always just sexual. It was never romantic, because we were primary partners. And Ash, women. And as we both started to develop in our security with one another and love, we started to change dynamics in terms of like how many, we call them DAs. How many DAs can you have a week? Do I tell you before I have a DA?
I was late to that one.
Right. Do I tell you before the DA or after? What kind of communication style feels good for us? So we have just consistently started to build upon the comfort and the security that came before us. After being ethically non-monogamous, or what we called at the time monogamish, separately, we then got this opportunity to be on this show called Couple to Thruple. And that is actually the first time where we started dating someone together. Now, not only are we thinking about being physical with someone else, but we're doing it together because we had never had any threesomes. We never hooked up with anyone together. It was always very separate. And so now we're dating and we're having feelings and like, falling for people, but together. And I think setting up in our monogamish aspect, it allowed us to learn so much that when we went into this experience, we were like, what were we so afraid of? Like, why is this so much easier almost than doing it separately? Because we had already tackled the jealousy, the idea of like compersion and not wanting to limit each other, but also realizing how to make each other feel secure, that when we're dating other people together, we're realizing, wait, this is actually not only easier, but I'm feeling love and feeling things that I've never felt before with just one person. The connection and love that you can find when you add more people into your love, I feel like it was really mind-opening for us. And so we've started to go down the path of polyamory and what that looks like dating together. But even now, for the first time this year, I'm like, oh, I understand like what a polycule could be and how that can operate and how I can not be insecure in that dynamic and how I could support my partner finding love outside of me while also being able to support that love too.
I think that's incredible. It took me into my later years to even get that, but I think that's one thing that's always impressed me about as this younger generation coming up, just their approach to sex positivity. I'm like, fuck. Like I was so fucked up about shit. And it took me, honestly, it took to my mid to late 30s. That's good shit. Good shit. I'm trying to get down. I'm sorry. Because to be able to find that at a younger age, I mean, just avoid a lot of bullshit. Dr. Mel.
Yes.
So Dr. Mel has hosted a couple of our after the party aftercare.
I have.
Which has been a really, really good thing that we want to bring back. So what has been your experience being polyamorous in a play space? How is that?
What is my experience being polyamorous in a play space? That's a great question. I think that, so it's interesting. I have different feelings about being in play spaces. I love being in the energy of a play space. And I think, I'm going to speak specifically about Susia, so I think that it's cheating because there is no place like Susia.
Yes.
But there is this beautiful way of really just being able to explore. So my husband doesn't really love play parties. And so I usually go by myself. Sometimes I am there with one of my other partners. Sometimes I'm just there alone. But I think that the nice thing is you can sort of be in a play space and you just feel open and free, right, to meet new people. I do lean towards the side of being more of a demisexual, so I do enjoy connection, which I think is some of the ways in why polyamory fits more for me than just not necessarily being like the umbrella of E&M and then maybe being a swinger, right? So I like being in a play space because it gives me the opportunity to meet new people. And I think Susia makes it so easy to be there and not have to engage in anything physical. I think the nice thing about polyamory is it doesn't mean that you're having sex with a whole bunch of people. You are just, it's many loves. So you're having connections with other people, which also feels really good. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I think that's kind of like what it's been like for me to be in those spaces.
And I like that you made the distinction between love and sex.
Yeah.
Right there. So
Such
you
a
can love
difference.
people.
Which is where my question comes in, right? Because me and my girlfriend love to have ignorant conversations about polyamory, right? But in a more like just a very curious way. Because when you say like, you know, it's more about love than just sex, most people will go, so why don't y'all just call each other friends? Why do you have to call it a poly? Like, what is it that is just so poly that y'all are doing over there? I love we're idiots. We love going. What are y'all doing over there? Whenever we're not doing something, it's like, what the fuck are they doing over there? But that is a question that like people ask. Is like, well, why don't you just call it just friends if it's not a romantic situation?
So I think that having the freedom to be able to designate who becomes what for me and not having that be dictated by some arbitrary rule in the air that says that I can't experience this love for multiple people.
Yeah.
And so I like that polyamory offers us the opportunity to customize our relationships to suit our own needs.
Yeah.
We reach the human experience and we're immediately told we want heterosexuality, we want marriage, we want monogamy, without ever really checking in with each human and saying, hey, is this what you want? Is this the kind of relationship that you want to be in? So I love that polyamory allows us the opportunity to sort of decide what our relationships look like. Because even like you're saying, okay, well, why don't you just call it friends? Well, I sleep with my friends, you know, but we're friends, you know what I mean? And that's what we are. So someone on the outside looking in may look at that relationship and say that it's, you know, romantic because it has a sexual component. But I'm like, no, we're friends. And then there are people that have partners that they don't sleep with and they don't have sex with. And it's just about love. And so I like that polyamory gives us the opportunity to craft what our relationships look like as it serves our needs. And we're the only ones that are making the definitions for what is friendship, what is love, what is romance. You know, we're making those decisions ourselves instead of just allowing this sort of compulsory narrative that we've been given dictate for us, you know, what we need out of love.
Overarching titles that just generalize very broadly.
Right, exactly, right. So why not call it friends? Because it's not, you know, that's not what it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then I have a question to the room, right? Because now it just sounds like we're redefining what the definition of love is, right? If that would make sense. And how, or how you express love, feel love, and get love from the people around you. And so that would change what polyamory actually is when you change your mindset on what love is. Am I on to something?
Well, I think we're not changing the idea of what love is. I think we're opening the idea of what love can be. Just like gender, right? Now that we have non-binary people, trans women, trans men, does that mean that boys and girls still don't exist or the binary still doesn't exist? No, that is still something in existence and it is respected and society runs on it. But we're giving ourselves the freedom to express how we want to express within our love that can also manifest in more ways than what is popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's essentially saying, not necessarily changing the idea of love, because I always say that polyamory is just basic relationship principles on steroids, you know? So like, it really is. It's just this like multiplayer game, you know? And we're navigating complex, you know, relationships all the time in our families, on our jobs, or whatever. We're just not used to doing that in the romantic context. But I think it expands how love can be expressed. I think it expands like how we can experience love, and especially romantic and sexual love. Is saying, you know, what is more out there? Even friendship. You know, polyamory has also opened up how I experience friendship, because I don't reserve all of my intimacy or most of my intimacy for my romantic relationships. And so when I began to call my romantic relationships into question and how I experience them, then I looked at all of my relationship spaces and go, what about this can I expand? And so I think it's just expanding, how love can be experienced and how it can be expressed.
One thing you said that I really love is that is basic principles on steroids, and I do find that my friends that are poly, or like people that I meet that are in poly relationships, is that they get the foundation out the way first, right? And so that's the problem with a lot of people, or why monogamous people can't really understand polyamory, is because you don't have the basic foundations of what makes your healthy relationship. So a lot of things that when I just have conversations with people, they're thinking like, well, that's cheating, or what if this person gets this amount of attention and the other person gets upset? And it's like, probably happening, but they know how to communicate after it happens. And the problem in monogamous relationships is we don't have good practices. So it's like, in a monogamous relationship, if I go, oh man, babe, I think her butt is pretty big, right? It looks good. You're scared to even say that, or if somebody says it to you, you don't know how to react or go about saying, like, I might not have like that statement. And so it doesn't change anything in a poly relationship. Relationship is a relationship. It's about the foundation that you have within that relationship that helps you navigate the poly field. That was just like my short explanation from a non-poly person.
I totally feel like foundation is so important, and it makes me wonder, like I question, because I'm lucky to have been able to start this poly experience, non-monogamous experience with my current partner, we got to build such a solid foundation of trust before we started experiencing romance or intimacy outside of each other. So I wonder what it's like to first start dating someone already being polyamorous and already having dynamics of other partners, and the safety, I guess, that I've felt with Ash really resides sometimes in the amount of time we've already put into our relationship and the security we've created. So there's a little fear that comes up for me when I think about starting a new poly relationship with somebody, if we don't necessarily have that foundation before we're just going balls to the walls, poly. You know what I mean?
I mean,
I was going to say, I think that one of the things that I love about polyamory personally and just my own personal work is I've learned how to shift my idea of security to myself first. So feeling secure in myself and feeling okay with who I am. And then now as I meet new people, because I started polyamory with my then husband, we've since gotten divorced. Now I'm a single person, I'm out. And so I'm doing that exact thing that you're doing. I'm meeting people and immediately we're already establishing that we're going to be non-monogamous. And yet I still find that I'm able to build relationships that have a solid foundation because we redefine kind of what foundation means. And it's more about like, how are we showing up to one another? How are we prioritizing one another? How are we making time for one another? How are we creating safe space for one another? And that can be done even as I'm relating to other people. So I feel like it's more developing the skills of how to be secure as an individual with yourself. And then that helps you. Your foundation is yourself. And so no matter where you're at, you're solid, And so for me, that's really been the core work. Is like, how am I working on my own sense of personal security so that I'm arriving to my relationships from a secure space. And then now I'm making sure that I'm choosing other people who are also doing that work.
that's it.
And so that way we are our secure foundation in and of ourselves. And when we come together, it's just two secure foundations, building on that security.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what you're actually talking about attachment styles, right? And so I think regardless of if you are in a monogamous relationship or you are polyamorous, attachment style still matters. And you are developing secure relationships with multiple people. And it's possible, right? But it depends on how you talk about it and the communication around it, right? So you're speaking about feeling secure with yourself, which is super important, right? But then I'm also... I was listening to something recently and it's like polyamory is multiple commitments. It's not like you're just out here like using it, which I think sometimes people do hide behind this as a way to have more sex, right? It's being committed to multiple people.
Yeah.
And if you are in a commitment to multiple people, you still have to have security in the relationship, knowing that that person cares about you and wants to be in this moment or this relationship with you, and that it's you aren't worrying about whether or not that partner is going to leave you. All of those principles are still present, even though it is a polyamorous relationships that you're entering.
It's really interesting because I think another thing too a lot of people don't realize is that you could be non-monogamous or polyamorous and still have jealousies, still have all the things going on. You could be non-monogamous, like, my wife and I are non-monogamous. We dipped our toe in the polyamory pool, and I realized it's a lot. It's a lot of responsibility.
It is.
Like just what you said. If you don't need to hide behind polyamory to fuck a lot. You could just be non-monogamous and be honest about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what I'm doing. But when you throw polyamory into it, it's kind of like, well, let's not. There is a distinction between the two, and for me, it definitely hit me because I was like, my lover at the moment had called and was going through a little crisis, and I was like, look, man. I told you.
He's like, I am not the one for that.
I literally said to you, I'm going to always show my best self. And then my wife is like, Morgana, she's like, what happened? I said, well, she was like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh. Then she called her. And I'm like I'm ashamed. I'm like, fuck, that's so whack. So she's consoling her, and I realized, like, wow, I don't think I'm ready for this. Because I was like, and then we had a conversation about it, and I apologized to her. And I was like, but, just, do you remember when I said that? She's like, yeah, but I didn't agree to that. And I was like, oh, that's me, just because I said it. And I think dudes do this a lot. And from my perspective, I said this, and nothing else matters around that.
I know.
Around what we said. So it was definitely, I was like, okay, I get it now. And it definitely made me realize and help put in perspective, like, this is a lot of responsibility. This is like, I enjoy being with one person in a relationship. I got too much going on to divide my attention. That's what it comes down to, I believe. It's just a lot going on. Like, So it's well, I think we are gonna head towards that. But for right now, we're cool fucking other people.
Yeah.
Where do your boundaries, if you don't mind me asking, I'm just curious.
No,
I'm like, in your relationship, what's the boundary in terms of like, okay, this is the line of how you can communicate with this person. Are you seeing them outside of each other or only in certain spaces?
Oh man, no.
Do you communicate before, after? Don't ask, don't tell.
This is like where my inner fuck boy was like flabbergasted. So we had dinner with our prospective people, right? And we went over everything. And I was like, oh shit. Wow. And then it was my turn. And then I'm watching them talk, and I'm like, oh my God, this is all I need to do. Just be honest about the shit and be willing to reciprocate. So the boundaries around that, I don't know. I usually set up like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm more concerned about feeling safe, me. You know what I'm saying? Because if I don't feel safe, then I'm gonna start getting weird about other shit. So I focus on myself first with the intent of being able to hold space for my wife. At one time I was like, yeah, just be home by like, 2-3 o'clock. Just stupid shit.
Just making up shit.
Just real random shit. 2-3 o'clock. You got text me. So when it was my turn, she had been away, and I was like, okay, I called, and I was like, hey, what kind of wine do you like? And Morgana's like, I'm not in town. I thought I called. Right? So I felt such a rush of shame and embarrassment and all the things that I because I'd been a fuckboy before, I attached pleasure or the prospect of pleasure to someone else getting hurt. You know what I'm saying? And the guilt. And she just laughed. She's like, shut up and call her. Like, why are you calling me? And her saying that, I was like, oh, I'm in the street. I'm just like, oh my God, this is, and it was just like, after that, it wasn't any real boundaries after that. Had we, we stepped back because of the time, because it's like, there's so much going on and we can't half-ass it. So it's just like, let's stick with that. But, it's been together 9.5 years. It's worked.
I think you brought up a really good point too about guilt and shame. Because often, so many people are used to conducting their non-monogamy in a clandestine way that's not, above board.
It's not
I
ethical.
started saying that. I was mad clandestine back in the days,
That's not above board, or even just having their desires for other people in a way that they can't express, and feeling a lot of shame around that because I'm supposed to only like this one person. I'm supposed to only be attracted to this one person. So navigating the transparency and the openness of ethical non-monogamy and polyamory, and like you said, calling your partner accidentally. I've done it, sent a text that I meant to send to someone. My partner does it all the time, and I'm like, wrong babe,
I did it last week.
Yeah, one time when I'm
last week.
Oh my God.
I asked her an old story. She said, wrong bitch. I said, you're right.
Right, exactly. So, and so we're so used to this idea that, we have to, are wanting to love multiple people or be attracted or interact with multiple people is something that we have to feel bad about. And we have to feel shame about, and we have to feel guilty about. And so that navigating that, I don't actually have to feel shame about this. I can be open about this. And not only can I be open about this, but I can still be loved by the people that I'm in relationship with as I interact with other people, that they're not going to leave me. They're not going to, demonize me for this desire is a revolutionary experience, and also one that people really, really struggle with. So even when you're in a situation where you can be open, you can still have that kind of sheepish moment of going, is this okay that I'm like on this date with this person, or I take this call from this person that I love when my partner is there? Because, we're so used to feeling like we should feel shameful feelings, for, desiring more than one person in this way.
That's so true. And that takes work. Like really decolonizing that shame. That reminded me of myself. And, when I was in the closet and I used to use my little ass, my grinder and stuff, when I was like getting my little hookups, as I'm now at this age where I'm in an ethically non-monogamous relationship and I have the support of my partner to go have a hookup, there was still this sense of shame after that it's like hard to get rid of. And now here I am relying on my partner to give me overwhelmingly positive support, not realizing that it's like they don't need to show up in this way for me just to show me that like it's okay that I did what I did. Clearly that's like my own work that I need to do and really decolonize and declutter like why do I feel that shame and having to relearn that pattern.
Yeah.
And giving my partner this space that like you can support me and be like, yeah, no, go off, go get yours. But that doesn't mean that they're going to support in the same way I would. Because I'm the one who's like, what do they look like? Who are they? How was the time? Where are you going? What's this? And Ash is very much like, I don't care. I don't want to know.
I'm information light for the most part. I don't want a lot of information. Don't tell me a bunch of stuff.
I need like a little information. But
a little, right. I need logistical information. And as I've gotten more mature in non-monogamy, I can definitely have more detailed conversations. So my partner and I, we have very detailed conversations about their interactions with other people. I also notice that the more secure I feel in a relationship, the more I'm able to share about their relationships with others, because I'm not feeling as threatened. Whereas if it's a newer relationship or someone that I have something kind of casual with, I'm very much just like, I'm glad you're living your life and having a good time. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Like, I don't really need to know a ton about it. But I can be a little like information light in that all I want to know is, are you having a good time? Are you enjoying yourself? Are you safe? And are you picking quality people?
That's
That's it.
Do you have a hard time opening up if your partner asks you about your time?
So that's really funny. I don't. He does now. He loves details. So he is like, what did you do? Where did you go? What happened? He loves the details. So he will ask questions. I will answer them. I still can be a little clipped. he does not get the same, like, when I'm on my girlfriend's, I'm like, bitch, let me like, girl, he did this. Right? You know, with him, I'm a little bit more reserved, but still open, you know, because we've been together now for like 5 years. So, you know, there's a lot of security there. But I do tend to be information light, but it's very much because I tend to give people what I would want. So I like my partners to be open and transparent with me, but also kind of tread lightly with like what you're sharing, because sometimes it may be a little uncomfortable for me. So he's very, you know, he navigates that very well. So he'll, you know, share something and he'll let me ask the questions for the things that I want to know. Sometimes I'm very like, oh, what'd you do? Whatever, blah, blah. And if he tells me how to date, I'm like, oh, shoot, what does she look like? What you wearing? You know, so he'll get that kind of treatment. Some other stuff is a little bit more complex. I remember recently he went on a date and we had just had a conflict like right before. So I was already feeling a little bit tender about our relationship. And so he went on his date, he had a good time, and when he came back, we didn't get a chance to really talk about it because we had to navigate through our personal conflict. And then once we got through that, I was like, okay, so tell me about your date. And so he told me about the date, and he told me, you know, that they had a little sexy time. And I was like, do I need to know anything else? And so I sat, and he kind of waited, and I was like, nope, I'm good. You had a good time, we're good. Okay, and that was kind of it. And then we just moved on, you know? So it really does depend. I think what's most important is knowing what your boundaries are, what you're comfortable with, and then choosing people that you are in alignment with. I cannot stress that enough, is making alignment choices. So many people choose people for the person that they want without thinking, is this person in alignment with the relationship experience that I want to have? And that is so, so, so important in non-monogamy specifically, because it's so broad and there's so many different ways that people do it, that making sure that you're choosing people that you're in alignment with is so crucial.
Yo, I love. I'm like, tell me what happened.
Yo, there's something. There really is something about
I want
men
details.
that
like,
really want to know. Like,
oh my
we be
God,
want to know.
I love that. I'm gonna fuck the shit out of you right after.
Exactly.
I'm like, did you come? Did you come?
Yeah, right. No, seriously. Oh my God.
Okay, well, let's go, babe. Come on.
Yeah. Even you got one more in you, cause
What in the chamber, right?
it's crazy because even mentally, like, I'm super, like, Luis knows me, I'm super open, super like comfortable and everything. But I realized that even Saturday, my body on its own still has times where it like tenses up from like that feeling of shame. Me and my girlfriend, we really call ourselves like hornogamists because we like doing all the like wild freaky shit, but we always want to do everything together. So we're not really like non-monogamous where we'll go out on our own. So that's how we started our relationship, but we were long distance. And so when we finally came together, we realized that we enjoyed doing things together, being together, and like the non-monogamy really worked well when it was long distance. But now that we're like in the same space, we're like, I don't feel the need to be around other people. So we go to the play party on Saturday, and I saw some friends of mine that do like king play and stuff like that. One of them do rope, one of them do knife play. They had knives and claws. So I asked my girlfriend, can I go over there and have my friend tie me up, and then have another friend like do the knife play and everything, and I showed them who it was. And even with the permission that she was okay with it, and it happening as I'm tied up and they started, she had to come over to me and go, relax, it's okay. Like, you're safe. And I just went, and just melted into the floor. I was like, I didn't even realize how tense I was. And even up until like Saturday, 2 days ago, I was like, oh snap, my body still may have some things with itself where it feels like, even as comfortable as I am with my purse and everything like that, I still feel kind of like nervous to open up 100%. And I'm a person that's like really open and transparent, but I can still feel in my body, like just from like past like relationships or how it was before, that it can really still sit there without even noticing it.
I think the
Can we
things.
pause for a second? I want to get this TV fixed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right on time. Look at that.
Sorry, Dr.
Pause for literally 1 second.
No, I think so. When Max was talking before about how, and you keep calling them the young, sort of like the young person here, but there's a little bit of envy, because I think so many of us have waited until later in our lives
Yeah.
to actually start decolonizing and unlearning the bullshit that we were taught, right? But it's in our DNA, right? Like all of these limitations and the things they tell us that are taboo and that you aren't supposed to be engaging with other people, and what we learn about monogamy is built into our DNA. And so even when our brains, even when we're saying like, I actually don't want to, I don't know, that's not in alignment with what I want to do. I don't want to live this way, but our body still has it built in.
Yeah.
And so there has to be this conscious, consistent, constant kind of like reminder that it is okay. It's okay where I am. It's okay with what I want to do. I am being ethically non-monogamous with my partner. We've had a discussion about this, but it's an everyday, right? Like you can't say you're going to be non-monogamous or even, and even take it the next step to be polyamorous and then stop talking. And you also can't expect yourself to just be okay with it like that, right? It's a constant sort of
It's a
dance,
constant becoming.
right?
I always say that you don't become non-monogamous with one decision to become non-monogamous. It is a constant process because, for like I said, we hit the ground running, we get monogamous conditioning, and then we are receiving continued monogamous conditioning, even if you're polyamorous. I've been polyamorous now for 9, 10, actually over 10 years. But in every song, in the media, like now we're getting representation, we're having shows, things that are coming out, but we're still receiving that monogamous conditioning constantly. So just saying, oh, we're going to be open one day, and then just having this expectation that you're going to get into it, and it's just all going to be okay with you, and it's all going to make sense, and you're going to know how to operate. It's naive at best and delusional at worst. Like, it is a becoming, it's a process of unpacking. It's bringing all of these relationship ideas that we've been given and going, how does that serve where I'm at today? How does that serve what I want out of my relationship today? Do I still believe that? Did I ever believe that? It's having to bring all of that into question, kind of bringing it on the examination table and going, what am I keeping that's genuinely for me, and what am I getting rid of? And it's a constant. It's actually one of my favorite parts of non-monogamy, honestly. I think it's the part that makes it most fun, is actually the self-discovery. Yeah, the multiple partners and having sex with a bunch of people, getting loved and getting, 3 good morning texts and baby. That part is nice. I enjoy it. I'm sending this news to this mood. I'm sending this one to that one. It is nice. But that is it's a fluctuating benefit. So that part is nice. And then I had 1 year where I started the year with 5 partners, and by October I was down to 1. 4 breakups in 1 year, So if I made my enjoyment of it about my relationship experiences with other people, I would have this very roller coaster experience of it, of up and down and up and down and up and down. So I had to learn how to connect what the benefit was to have nothing to do with the relationships that I was in. And for me, the biggest benefit of non-monogamy is the self-discovery. I learned so much about myself. One of the things I say is I got into it to become intimate with more people, and the person that I became the most intimate with is myself.
Yeah.
So it's taught me so much about who I am as an individual and who I want to be as a person. And that to me is the biggest benefit of non-monogamy, probably more so than anything I've ever done is how it's shaped me as a person.
I think one of the cool things about polyamory when I was, when we were trying, attempting to explore it a bit, just like kind of like with our kitty floaters. It's pretty deep over there. It's pretty deep. Yeah. Was the kinds of polyamory, and just talking to people, polyamorous, I guess, relationship anarchists or
Yeah.
and it's just, and I'm just like wondering, like, is it my programming? Is that part of it? But I just feel, and then they put the concept of hierarchy into like white supremacy and shit, and I'm just kind of like, but I was like, but my wife's like, she's number one. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Is that me not doing the work around it or something? Which is also really, it's just, I respect each person and how they're going to do it. Like, yeah, rock like that. And I also see how that could also be used to move in a weird way. You know what I'm saying? And then, I'm sorry, it's just tabletop
Kitchen table.
Kitchen table. Kitchen table polyamory, which for me intellectually seems like my preferred way. What are your preferred ways?
Wait, before you answer
Okay.
that question, I want to make sure because not everybody knows the poly terms. What is kitchen table?
So kitchen table poly is actually a term that was coined by Tikva Wolf, who is a very, very, very dear friend of mine. They have the Kimchi Cuddles is the polyamory comic that they do. And they coined the term kitchen table poly, and what it essentially describes is a type of polyamory where people's partners and their partners can all sit around the kitchen table and have coffee. And so so there's parallel polyamory, which is a person is having multiple polyamorous relationships, and the people may know about each other, but they don't interact. So it's like this relationship is this way, this relationship is this way, this relationship is this way, and they don't cross connect. So that's why it's called parallel, because the relationships run parallel. Kitchen table polyamory is a type of polyamory where everybody can sit around and go to be at the kitchen table, and they go to things together, and they hang out in the metamors, which is your partner's partner, essentially. They have a relationship. For a long time, it was seen as the gold standard of polyamory, which I hated. Personally, because as a person who struggled with, metamor relationships for a while and had, the metamor space was a challenging one for me at times. I didn't like that they kind of push, kitchen table polyamory is like the gold standard. If you're going to do poly, this is how you need to do it. I think that it's just a type of polyamory. It has its benefits. And while I am in a kitchen table dynamic now, in the sense that my partners we're all very close. I stay at her house when I go to Los Angeles. We have a close and loving relationship. But that's largely because she's the kind of person where I would have that regardless of whether or not he was dating him or not. It's not compulsory. So whereas there are some people, they're compulsory. We have to have kitchen table polyamory. So that's a loosely term of what kitchen table polyamory is. I like kitchen table when it can happen. Like I said, when my partner is choosing people who I would normally have a relationship with anyways, because I like them as a person. But I've also had my partner have partners where I'm like, I don't like that bitch, okay? And I don't want nothing to do with her. No, seriously, like I have no qualms about that. People try to act like that's you're not as evolved. No, I don't like that hoe, okay? I'm really glad that you like her, and you go have your relationship with her over there.
Don't bring your girlfriend over here.
Right, seriously.
Yes,
And so for me, kitchen table is nice when it works. I don't think it should be forced. I don't think it's the gold standard of polyamory. And I also think that it's totally okay to say, I love that you have other relationships and I hope that they're making you happy. I don't really want to have a ton to do with them and be parallel. I think that's also okay too.
Sorry, so what was your question?
That was a lesson I learned with non-monogamy. It's like, I don't have to like who my wife was fucking. A few of them, I was like, not bad people. Not at all.
That's what you're going to go with?
Little corny
All right.
motherfucker, but that's okay because she finds value in you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the important part. So I could definitely see that because it's just, and it has to move in an organic manner. Because if you're forced to be around some people around that kitchen table sipping coffee, like,
it can be very coercive when people wield it that way. It also, I feel like it does not serve single, solo, non-nested partners sometimes when there's a forced kitchen table dynamic. And so they almost feel like they have to play along in order to have their relationship with the person. And so what I think is important for people to understand is that if they desire kitchen table polyamory and their partner desires kitchen table polyamory, then they need to, like I said, that alignment piece, make sure that you're communicating that to the people that you're vetting, okay, and that you're interacting with, so that you're also choosing people that they have kitchen table as a principle that they hold dear. And so when you're making your partner choices, you will be choosing people that will also be showing up to doing the work of having kitchen table, because that's a value that they hold. So if like my husband, for example, did not value kitchen table polyamory, he was an introvert, he had a low people bandwidth, and so he just could not deal with
All the
metamors and all the energy. He just couldn't deal with it. And so kitchen table polyamory had no value for him. So he really didn't try very hard to make sure that, me and his partners vibed or meshed. He didn't care, clearly, okay? But we're not going to go there.
Yeah.
So, and so it's making sure that you choose people that if that's what you want kitchen table polyamory, that you're choosing people who also want kitchen table polyamory, because then you all have that kind of shared value and it won't feel like work trying to make it happen, because everybody, that's what they value. And so they're all going to do their own work to kind of make that happen. And then you have people that they kind of they don't really care if their partners have much of a relationship or, to have a relationship with their metamorphs. And that has to be okay too, because if we're talking about a relationship structure where we're giving people autonomy, we also need to give people the autonomy to say, I really don't want to interact with that person if I don't want to.
Yeah. What was the question that you had asked? I started to interrupt.
About what? Which question?
About the kitchen table.
Versus within the polyamory structure, like the non-hierarchical structure. How do you feel about hierarchy, Dr. Mel? Because how do you feel about that?
It's gone through evolution, right? I think when we first started identifying as poly, I was like very strongly into a hierarchical structure. At this point, the only piece in my hierarchy is that my husband and I are each other's number one, and then everybody else kind of like has similar feel, right? But I think we were doing it differently before. I think like each person that sort of came in had a different like number on the scale. Yeah. But I didn't like the way that it didn't work, right? It didn't feel like it worked for us or even worked for me. And I think that's the other piece, like your poly will evolve over time. And so there are things that you think might work or even that you want to try out or test out. And then you kind of realize, I don't like that. That doesn't feel like it's okay. So being okay with that flexibility and change is really important.
Yes.
But yeah, we don't do hierarchy beyond each other.
Yeah.
For me, hierarchy is really a conversation about harm reduction. So I don't practice hierarchy. My husband and I, when we were doing it together, we abolished hierarchy pretty quickly. But I'm not going to be I'm not one of those polyamory people that feel like hierarchy is evil. Like, I'm like, okay, like people are going to do this. Number one, a couple coming into non-monogamy is scary. And just like you said, it evolved. You have to be flexible. So like Vita that was first entering in it and Vita now, two completely different people. But trying to come into non-monogamy from monogamy in a couple and just go, we're just going to take all the restrictions off. To me, that's way too dysregulating to the nervous system. I'm sorry. Like it is. Don't do that. Way too dysregulating to the nervous system. And we came in kind of hot. And I was struggling. Like, it's way too dysregulating to the nervous system personally. And so I tend to be like, okay, people are going to do hierarchy. So how do we educate them to do hierarchy well to mitigate the harmful impacts of it? That to me is important. It's a harm reduction conversation. Same thing with something like unicorn hunting, all of these things that people demonize, Right. I don't engage in a lot of those things personally, but if people are going to, because we're talking about adults, making adult choices about who they are going to interact with. So I'm more like, okay, if people are going to unicorn hunt, if they're going to have hierarchy, if they're going to do whatever, how do we educate these people to do these things in a way that mitigates harm? So communicate. What does the hierarchy mean? Does that mean that, like what are the particulars of it? And communicating that to the people that you're interacting with. I have a hierarchy. This is what that means for you. This is what that means for our relationship. This is what that means for how much we can hold, how much space you can take up based on this hierarchy so that people are agreeing to what it is that they're coming in. And then also, like you understand, being flexible. So we can't have these hard and rigid agreements because life is not hard and rigid. So every situation is not going to be able to fall under these guidelines so how are we being flexible? How are we changing as people's needs change? How are we incorporating these people that we're inviting in, that we're committing to be in a relationship? If you're committing to be in a relationship with people, you're committing to care about their needs as well. And so that's important. So I don't think, hierarchy is one of those things that I was like, I wouldn't do it. But like, if you're going to do it, here, let me help you figure out how to do it well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I connect with what both of you said, but I understand coming in as a couple and then kind of just throwing hierarchy out the window I can't imagine.
That's a lot.
that would go crazy. But I think I'm right now in the boat that you said is like me and my partner, we know we're each other's number ones. But that hierarchy after that, and not to say that someone else coming in means this person is more important than you, but the idea is that just like, I don't know, everything in the world, you can't compare apples to oranges. So when you have all of these different relationships, what I'm seeing is like, I can't say that I value this relationship more than this relationship or this person more valuable than this, because to me, they might each have their own needs and their own places in my life in which they show up. As long as we're like communicating and letting each other know what the expectations are and what our agreement is, then I feel like we can all be on the same page. But for me and my partner, I guess now we're kind of focused on, you know, of course, exploring together and still having our space to like play away from each other, but cultivating that, like, I don't know if it is a throuple, but we just want another partner to be able to like really feel like romantical with, you know, like we're kind of like crushing on this person currently and like seeing what that's going to turn into for us and what that dynamic will also look like. Because I mean, we got thrown into the poly waters on reality TV, you know, couple to throuple. So it's like that format of the show restricts polyamory already to just one couple having the hierarchy, looking for a single. And then at that point, you know, it almost becomes like a little bit of a game show, because it's like we're staying or we're swapping people, and no one here. It's
I don't
not
mean
to
to
say
laugh. I just think about
No,
come
but-
on down.
but it's kind of crazy. It's like, come on down,
feels
stay or
like.
swap who you want to stay with.
Yeah.
But for example, when we were there in the resort, we had throupled up with this one person, Becca, and we had an amazing experience with them. We communicated with them that we're new to polyamory. We love our experience with you and we're super excited, but we don't know if we're just super excited about polyamory or if we're just like really meshing with you as a person. So we would love to be able to explore someone else, right? And through the format of the show, after like another stair swap, we came back to Becca, and Becca's like, well, I just feel like I'm a third option. And the thing is, it's not that you're a third option, like you're option C. It's just in the format of this show, we are here to explore and find polyamory that works for us and possibly a throuple that really meshes well with us. We had an experience with you and we know it was great. We wanted to experience something else to see if we had any comparisons. And honestly, on the show, because of everything going on, we didn't get any other throuple experiences outside of the great one that we did have with Becca, even though it went up and down. But at that time, when they're saying that they are feeling like such an option, I feel like it's like couples privilege. You know, I've heard people talk about, you know, that like, oh, I'm just a single, you can kind of just swap me out. And I really don't like that. And I don't want to
Convey.
yeah, I don't want to kind of continue that notion of thinking, but I want to know how to be able to share that, like, you're not an option, you're not option C. It's just that this isn't just thruples. The format of the show is keeping us to just thruples. If this was polyamory in the real world, I can have a beautiful relationship with you and we can have a beautiful relationship with someone else.
Right.
But that's the thing, is like, now that it is on reality TV, now there is this reference of couple to throuple. That is one part of polyamory, and it's one of, from what I heard, the most hardest.
It is the
like,
hardest
really hard.
dynamic to maintain. Most people come into polyamory, couples come into polyamory, and they think that, oh, well, a triad is going to be the thing that I should go for because it's, you know, less jealousy. We're with the same person. And I'm like, you know, people think that, you know, triads are poly 101 and they're like poly 301. So I always tell people, I'm like, if you think about it, you've never seen your partner with someone else. And now you're going to move into a dynamic where not only are you seeing your partner with someone else, but your other partner is with someone else. And the someone else that they're with is each other. And it's all happening right in front of your face. So, like, that's some wild shit. It's some wild shit to think that you're just gonna jump into, we've never interacted with someone else, to now we're gonna share a person, and we're gonna be experiencing jealousy and all of these things, and it's all happening in real time right in front of us. Whereas, like, if you were to date separately initially, a lot of what your partner would be doing would be happening away from you, and so you can manage your feelings a little bit better. So I always tell people, like, couples when it comes, it's like, I know it seems counterintuitive, but dating separately, it gives you an opportunity to sort of work on those feelings. And then if you decide that you want to be in a triad or you want to, you know, have someone together, cool. But yeah, triads ain't no sipping tea. Okay, that's what I tell people. They ain't
think
no
it's kinda
sipping tea.
interest- like
Yeah.
the possibility of seeing your partner flirt differently with someone else. And you're like, what the fuck was that?
And that's another thing too.
Yeah.
Seeing your partner,
Right.
seeing your partner date someone else.
Yeah,
support.
it's
Right.
funny because going into this experience with my partner, we didn't realize, and now watching it back, like, wow, we almost like trained ourselves to go into this. Like, I feel like we took really good steps for ourselves, being non-monogamous separately, and really being able to like manage that jealousy, start to be able to find compersion, and even like support. And I would say, like, you know, I'm gonna take off my partner hat and put like my best friend hat on, and be like, you know, let me kiki about you, or kiki about this person with you. So then going into this show, there was so much fear that we had with, for the first time, dating someone else, seeing us kiss someone else, flirt with someone else. And the first night we stayed with Junior, who was a beautiful man. I had never seen Ash with another man before. So this was like a big moment. And I was like freaking out, thinking like, oh my God, am I gonna get so jealous? Didn't really feel anything at all. I felt so much more love. And I felt like I thought I knew what compersion was, but seeing my partner happy and giddy and flirting and loving someone else, like I'm like getting chills thinking about it right now, because it's just so beautiful to see someone that you love finding love again. And it almost made me like start to fall in love again with them. You know, it like rekindles.
It's sweet.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. Like I get a kick out of that. Like, now wear this, wear that. Let's get this outfit together. You know, you look great. But then there's a flip side of that, which is kind of like, for me, was a big, like, I was like, wait a minute. Do I got to console it? You know what I'm saying? I don't want to do that.
It's hard.
It's
But
true.
she's my life partner.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, in trying to navigate that, you just see how much more responsibility is.
Yeah.
How much more responsibility. Like,
Yeah.
wow. And then you may notice traumas come up that someone else triggered. And then it's like, oh, okay, cool. Or with, you know, with yourself, like with me evading the phone call. And I was like, damn, I really did that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's fucked up. You know what I'm saying? So just like all these things pop up, and you really got to start to examine yourself. I think polyamory is a really beautiful concept, and I hope that we get to explore it again. I think I appreciate us being number one and everyone else after, because there is besides the marriage, there's a financial, there's us having a kid, there are all these things that are like,
They're real life.
like, nah, we're all
intercourse
equal.
things, yeah.
No, this is no, we're not. It's just like, no,
Yeah.
cool, I get it. But there is something there. Nah, man. I just think this world of non-monogamy, there's so many beautiful things and so many scary things about it, and such a challenge. It's liberating. You could also get caught in a loop. You know, I've seen people get caught in a loop. It's like, damn, you just, especially in the play party scene. It's like, this is it. This is your whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Which for me is a little scary, because it's like, then what's after?
Right,
You know,
yeah,
does
what
that make
com-
sense?
Yeah, no, it
You know
does,
what I'm saying?
it does.
Like what's like, okay, cool. Like, there's nothing wrong with being single, but it's kind of like, are you avoiding what's going on? And I'm just seeing so many different things in the community itself and how it works.
One thing I could say that I realize from the compersion, and this is like a realized analysis, is that my person can get the happiness as if the same type of happiness as if I was giving it to them, but I don't got to do no work. I was like, oh man, this is fun.
No, 100%. Or I got the house to myself.
Yo, I got the house to myself. Even sometimes I be thinking about, she's about to be happy, and now you have to do shit, and then when I go home, she's still gonna be happy,
There you
and
go.
I'm gonna have
Right.
energy. I'm about to bust her ass when I get home. It was so good. Another thing that I wanted to ask, and I just wanted to ask this question to the room, because earlier you said monogamy training, and I want to ask the room, do you feel like there's monogamy training in like the poly relationships, like in the sense of we talked about earlier that monogamy might not sometimes have like the best foundation, or some people with the monogamy training, it's like monogamous toxic stereotypes, and I feel like it goes into people trying to go into poly relationships, right? And like the age-old thing where women will try threesomes, right? Just to think like it's gonna spice up the relationship and make their person happy. Or another thing is you'll get a guy that is most times is men that are unethically monogamous, which basically they're cheating, and the woman's like, oh well, let's just try poly now, because like if you're fucking other people, at least now we're poly. So I just want to know if there's like monogamy training in like these poly relationships or non-monogamous relationships as well.
I was gonna say, if you're not cognizant of unpacking monogamy, you can bring that into polyamory. So I always say people try to do non-monogamy monogamously, and it kind of doesn't work that way. So I think that, we don't exist in a vacuum, so even if you didn't grow up monogamously per se, because I've known people that their parents, were like my kids, their parents are non-monogamous, so they didn't really grow up with non-monogamy in their home of origin. But the society around you is monogamous, so you're going to bring some of that stuff in. And so I do think that if people are moving through polyamory in an unintentional and not conscious way, you can be perpetuating a lot of things that work for monogamy and trying to transfer that over to polyamory. It doesn't work. The way I describe it is, it's like changing your operating system, or like going from monogamy to non-monogamy is like going from like a PC to a Mac. So you have to change your operating system. So you have to like kind of go over like some of the functions are not going to work. Some of the commands are not going to work. You have to learn a new operating system.
Update your app store.
Yeah, you got to update your operating system, right? And so I think some people go in and they're just going, all the things that I've done in relationships before are just going to transfer over. I'm just doing it with more people. But it was like the things that you were doing in relationships before were for relationships that were monogamous. This is now no longer monogamy. This is non-monogamy. And so you have to kind of revamp how you do relationships so that they support this new thing that you're trying to do.
You did that. Give me some love.
I do think that, like, to your point, like, I like that analogy of going from a PC to a Mac. There's going to be an adjustment period. And so there's this, it's really important just to like have some grace with yourself, right? Because when you do go into polyamory and you start getting into relationships, you might have those monogamous ideals and you might not even recognize, right? And depending on, there's a concept, right, called new relationship energy. When you meet somebody new, it is so exciting. It can be like it could take over, right? And so you're not even paying attention to the fact that like I am actually not pretending, but acting as if this space is monogamous or bringing those principles with me when they're not. However, what I do think is important when we're talking about foundation, right? One of my favorite books that I read when we started this journey was More Than Two. And I liked it because there were so many, to your point, I think you were talking about this earlier, there are so many principles about just relationships in general, right? Like I was like, I actually want to give this book to my couples that are monogamous because y'all need to learn some of these skills, right? Just transparency and honesty and stop being so possessive of folks, right? So I think there's almost a balance, right? Because even when you go from a Mac to a PC, the keyboard is still the keyboard, right? There's some functions that are different.
And some are still the same.
Right? Still, there's still a monitor, right? But like there are some different ways to actually navigate them. And that's the piece. Like there's some pieces we got to keep and some things we need to open up to and sort of navigate differently to actually have those kinds of relationships.
And just because going from like monogamy to non-monogamy, right? And doesn't mean now because we're non-monogamous or now polyamorous means we can't cheat, right? Because it was unethical when you were monogamous. It's still going to be unethical if you go about it the same way in a non-monogamous relationship. You still have to learn the baseline of communication and honesty and understanding what are your rules, what are the boundaries, what are the guidelines here. And so just because you become polyamorous, there's still work that's going to need to be done, but sometimes that work also needs to be done in a monogamous relationship. Maybe polyamory isn't necessarily what you need. Maybe it's really finding that wholesome, truthful, vulnerable, communicative monogamy for yourself.
This was Luis's episode, but I'm cooking with gas now. I'm enjoying it. I like y'all a lot. I like these answers.
There's definitely some. I definitely want to give a big shout out to Maxie and Ashley for collaborating on the Susia Queer
My goodness.
party. It's super queer. You know, Gecko and I had to go sit in the van for a few hours. All right, it was like they're committed to it, and I really appreciate you getting down on that. You know, I think it's gonna be really the next event. I heard the last event was dope.
It was
You know,
incredible. I
you
mean,
killed it. I heard you killed it.
oh, the performance.
You want to tell them about the performance?
Okay, I'll give you a quick rundown. So I'm a dancer and a performer, but I also went to school for contemporary and ballet. So I have kind of this more like concert dance approach sometimes to some of my work, and I got asked to perform at Susia Queer, the play party. I'll walk you through, set the mood. So I'm in a very cunt lingerie outfit, right? Buttons starts playing by Pussycat Dolls. I start serving my cunt, you know, voguing, dancing, whatever, doing what I do. And then I pick up a bag and I start taking articles of clothing out the bag. I put on these glasses, I put on a bandana, and eventually I put on this button-down shirt. And as I'm putting on the articles of clothing, my movement becomes more masculine with each piece of clothing that I'm putting on. The last thing that happens in this song is I pick Ash up, or I stand her up, and then I pull their pants off. I put their pants on, and now Pony by Genuine comes on, and now I'm fully masked out, got my glasses, bandana buttoned down, now I have my sweats on, and I'm giving you Magic Mike, mask realness, doing everything. And then I get my bag, and I pull one more thing out of my bag, and it's a strap-on, dildo. I stand Ash up, we strap them up, take off their top, now they're fully vulnerable, exposed with their strap-on now. They then sit me down, bend me over, pull my pants off, open my fishnets, and penetrate me. Before they penetrate me, I like pass them the lube, and they lube up, they eat my ass, they penetrate me, and then they pass me the poppers. And so then penetration happens. Now, while they're penetrating me, I am undressing all of the articles of clothing that I had put on and passing them to Ash. So I'm taking the glasses off and I'm putting them on Ash. I'm taking the bandana off and passing it to Ash. So as they're topping, they then become fully masked out. And I turn back into a cunt. And then I take my pants off, and the last thing that I do is I put the pants back on Ash and Ash's full mask presentation. And
I love this.
It was
That
such
sounds amazing.
I love a gender bend. I love a gender bend. Give me
so
a gender bend.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That's Susia Queer.
Yeah.
I feel like an important question is being missed here of how you're doing all this while being penetrated.
I'm a dancer. I'm a dancer, you know. That's good for my body.
As soon as I put my dick in my girl, she's like, that's it. All I can do is have sex, and that's it.
Oh my gosh, no, but
anything else.
I just have to say, like, thank you so much for giving us that space and collaborating with us on creating that space, because, I mean, we had an incredible time at Susia when we initially went. Ash actually surprised me with, like, a play party, and it was Susia, and I was like, oh my God. And Ash, actually, since I've met them, it's been a dream of theirs to be able to host or create, like, some kind of play party for the queer community. And what was so beautiful about this play party, what is so beautiful about Susia Queer, is it's bi-POC focused, trans, non-binary, gender non-conforming centered. And not to say that nobody is welcome, but this space is one that is not segregating our queerness. It's not one where this is a gay sex party, this is a lesbian sex party, this is like a swingers party. This is very much, if you identify as queer, if you identify within this community, please come and bring all of your layers of femininity, masculinity, non-binariness, transness, whatever it is. And it's just a safe space which decolonizes all of that and practices just enthusiastic consent, which was so healing for so many people. You can literally feel the collective healing going on in the room, and the way that you can see people start to come out of their shells or really like find more of themselves or find strength in their voice and vulnerability. And that's what I really love about Susia. Susia, the play party, the space, it's really power through just collective vulnerability and healing and holding space for everyone. I feel vulnerable enough to ask you to be able to engage with you, but I also feel you also feel vulnerable and safe enough to be able to say no. And I feel strong enough to take that no and understand that that's okay.
Luis doesn't know this, but we're currently working on changing the word from safe space to brave space, so that people
Ooh.
like have the strength
Yes.
and empowerment to like react in this already known as safe space.
I love that.
Now you know, Luis. Something that was said when we were talking about like monogamy to non-monogamy and stuff like that, was like that transitional phase, right? In my relationship with my girl, we started off as non-monogamous, and then we went into monogamy. But something that happened, I heard of like literally maybe a few days before I did this was I became monogamous before my girlfriend became monogamous because I always thought like the title would overarch like the relationship, like we both have to adhere to it, and then come to find out that like we can both be on different type of levels of pages of this was like really groundbreaking to me. And I just want to know what y'all thought, or like how does that happen?
Yeah, I actually tell people all the time that you don't have to practice the same relationship orientation that your partner is practicing. So you can, 'cause some people will get into non-monogamy. So like for instance, when my husband and I first got into non-monogamy, swinging worked very well for me. I love to fuck, and I like to fuck a lot of people. So,
Same.
like, yeah, like I'm
Same.
like a super slut, you know. So, like, we got into
Same.
swinging, and I was like, yes, like this is amazing.
It's up.
I was like, yo, you know what I mean? Whereas, like, he is, I don't know that he would necessarily describe himself as demisexual, but I do feel like he was. He really wanted an emotional connection. Like, it was really hard for him to just, I can sleep with somebody whose name I don't even know. There are people that I could probably walk down the street and I'm like, I probably fucked that person. I couldn't even recognize him. But he's not like that, you know?
Sound like a gay man.
But listen, okay? I always say I'm a gay man trapped in a woman's body, for real. But he struggled with swinging because he couldn't form emotional bonds with people, and that was important to him. And, you know, if I knew then what I know now, you know, I would have probably just stayed a swinger for maybe a little bit longer and let him explore polyamory. So, like, you don't have to practice the same relationship or, like, model that your partner is practicing. So there are polymono pairings. There are pairings where someone's more of a swinger, another person's more polyamorous. You know, there are different, you can do kind of whatever. It's more important about the communication. And then also kind of going, is it important for me that my partner shows up the exact same way that I do? So it's one thing to say, I want to be monogamous or non-monogamous because that's what I want to do. But the next thing is going, but do I need my partner to be polyamorous or non-monogamous if that's what I'm doing? So I do think that it's possible that you can practice something different than what your partner is doing in the same relationship, but it does take a lot of communication. It also takes like getting in touch with yourself and really being secure about what it is that you want, and kind of knowing that. And saying, okay, you want to do this, that's cool. I want to do this, and that's cool. And then keeping your eyes on your own paper is really important because, like, for instance, say you have a swinger poly pairing, for example. So the swinger person could be looking over at their poly partner and going, well, you got all these people that love you and they're nice to you and y'all do things, whatever, blah, 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 and that looks really good. And I'm just over here having casual sex. But the poly person could be looking at the swinger person and going, yeah, and you don't have to show up emotionally to these people. And you don't have, right? You're not dealing with, like 3 breakups in 1 year,
You do it too much.
Right, yeah. And so there's pluses and minuses to each thing that we choose. And so it's important that we're like checking in with ourselves and going, no, I'm just genuinely doing what I want to do. And my partner is doing something different. And that's what works for them. And that's cool. And I'm giving them they have the autonomy to craft the relationship life that they want. But this is the relationship life that I want. And so it can be done. Yeah, I do believe that it can be done.
I think that's dope. I think one thing you mentioned demisexuality, and you mentioned coming into swinger life, like whatever. That was Morgana and I. I didn't realize I was more demisexual leaning, and she was more just like, "What's up? Let's do this." And the evolution was that we ended up being like that a little bit, especially in the last like year and a half, where it's just like we're rediscovering ourselves and then each other in that sense. And it's like, oh, and then it's like, she's like, oh, now I know what you went through And I was like, yeah, and then vice versa. You know what I'm saying? You're like, oh, I get it. We're exchanging these shoes. So there is a constant evolution of relationships, regardless where you're at, you know? I think the world of non-monogamy is beautiful. I'm glad I discovered it, or not discovered it. I'm glad it found me. I'm putting a flag in, right? Found it. I'm glad it found me. And I'm really glad to have you guys on the show. I think it's going to be dope. I think, like, first time I met you, I was like, I was like, yo, we are homies. Same thing, you know, like, you guys are just fucking amazing.
I'll try my best to
know
do
what
my
it
best.
is, kid, you know.
I did want to ask a question. This question comes from the outside, right? Somebody wants to know, like, how does the wow, I was trying to look for a word and it said framework, and that's the word I was trying to look for. How does the framework of like poly work in like the long term, right? So like, say if we want to get married, not the government type of married, but like the ceremony of like committing to how many other people, because y'all are poly or in different types of relationships, but how does it work long term with like all these bodies and energies in your relationship type space?
I mean, I think it really depends on what, again, works for you, right? We went into poly already being married. Thus far, we haven't gotten to a space where we have wanted to move in with our partners or live with them or do anything else outside of like our main relationship. We also have kids, so like we have a home that we maintain.
Yeah.
But I do know of people that have commitment ceremonies with their other partners. They all live together. There are kids involved. Somebody's having babies. Like there are so many different iterations of what this can look like.
Sounds like a tribe. For real. Yeah, it sounds like a real nice communal
in
tribe.
some ways, people are building their poly family.
Yeah.
And it's really... It goes beyond all the things we've ever been taught. So I think we always have to remember that, because I think sometimes we get limited by the things that we've seen, and you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
But there is a space where if it works for you, if that's what you want your life to look like, if all the people involved are on board or in alignment and feel happy with what you're choosing, then do you.
Yeah, I did polyamory for almost a decade with my husband until we separated in 2020. I know people that live in multi-partner households. Like you said, they have multiple children. I know poly people that get married. And so it can be done. I've been with my partner for 5 years. He's been with his other partner for close to, I think they're coming up on 6 this year. And then he's been married to his wife for like 11, 12 years. So longevity is possible in polyamory. We also teach in polyamory that longevity is not it's not the only marker of success. So we try to learn how to unpack, that idea that, you have to figure out how to stay together forever as a marker, the sole marker of success of a relationship. But longevity is important, and it can be done. So there are long-term polyamorous situations. It's just a matter of, kind of moving with how the relationship develops, keeping that flexibility like you were talking about. But it can be done, absolutely.
Anybody else have a response? Because I got one more question.
No, I'm too new to this.
You new to this, but you true to this.
There you go. So my question is that what do you do when things aren't going so well and like your partner is trying to practice non-monogamy or like poly? Because I know earlier you said that you and your a person had a disagreement or something like that, and they went out on a date and came back. I'll tell you this right now. If me and Mila are arguing and she wants to step out that fucking door to go see a friend, you sit your ass down. We are going to communicate. I cannot imagine her talking about, listen, I have a date. I need to go. Like, you're going to sit the fuck down and hierarchy me.
That is absolutely a thing. Now, fortunately, I will say my partner and I don't live together. We're long distance. So there is a degree of separation that can make it a little bit easier. In some respects, sometimes that can be a good thing, because it's like, okay, we're way too emotionally charged right now. I need some space to process. Go over there, go be with that other person, go get your cup filled. one of the things that happens, and I think it's because, like, so much of our relationship experience is also wrapped up in our ego. We use our relationships and we identify with our relationships so much, and giving ourselves a sense of worth.
Yeah.
So, if the thought of, if I'm in conflict with my partner and they go out with someone else, they're going to enjoy that other person. And then now that's going to be more threatening for me because this other person is making them happy. And right now I might not be making them happy because we're in a conflict space. But one of the things that I've learned is, sometimes my partner interacting with someone else in a positive way can give them a little bit more in their resource bank so that they can come to the conflict with me from a fuller space. So in going with someone else and being filled in a way, it then gives them like and then now they can come back to the conflict with me from a fuller space instead of from a depleted space.
That's dope.
And so, in that particular situation, first of all, he had already had the date planned. I'm not going to tell you, okay, well, because we're having a conflict, you need to change your date, because that's just not, that isn't honoring the other person. Also, I've been doing this for a while, and it was important for me to take the time to self-soothe, which I just can't do, with him,
Yeah.
And to like kind of process on my own. So that way, when I did come back to the conflict with him, I kind of knew what it was, what was mine and what was his, And I'm not saying I wasn't petty. I remember I remember he was going on the date with this person, this new person that he's been seeing the last time they went on a date. He was all like, oh, we had this great time. She was super present. We were like doing all this eye gazing and stuff. And I don't like to look people in the eyes. It makes me uncomfortable. So I remember when he was telling me that he was going out with her and we had this conflict, before he had left. And so I was feeling a little crunchy. And I was like, go be with your present bitch. Like, that's what I said in my head. I was like, go be with your present bitch then. Okay? Go look at her. Go stare up in her face.
That's what you like to do. That's your new thing.
Right, that's what you want to do. Right. Go look up in her eyes then, nigga. Internally. I didn't say it to him, but I said it internally, But, once he came back, we talked and we had a really great conversation. And I'm very fortunate, that my partner and I have excellent communication. It's very, very gentle. And so we moved through conflict very beautifully, if I toot my own horn. But I did have my moment of feeling tender, around he's going to be with this other person and we're in a conflict space. But, we don't tell our friends, because if we have like a beef with our friends, we don't say, okay, well, you can't hang out with none of your other friends, while we're working through this. We don't do that, or if a friend said that to a friend, you'd be like, I'm not doing that. That's nuts. So in my non-monogamous relationships, the same thing. I don't expect my partner's relationships to just stop and halt because we may not be in a good place, because all relationships go through ups and downs and ebbs and flows. Non-monogamy is no different. And so I don't expect his life outside of me to stop, just because, we're in a conflict space. I have enough trust in our relationship that we can navigate through the conflict, and he can go and interact with other people, and he can still come back to me with the same commitment to move through our issues. And like him interacting with other people doesn't detract from that. So, I would never say, okay, well, we're having an argument, so you need to stay home. I'd be like, okay, go on your date, and when you come back, we'll pick it back up. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the way it is.
I think it might be different, well, at least for me, with nesting partners, right? So I live with my husband. So if he and I have a conflict and he has a date, I'm with you need to sit your ass down, right? And vice versa. Now, if I have a conflict with one of my other partners and then I'm supposed to go out with my husband, right? I'm not going to not go out with him because of that. And maybe that's where the hierarchy comes in some ways, in that that's definitely a relationship that I prioritize, and I want to make sure we're good before I go out and do anything else. But if I'm in conflict with my other partners, I don't stop seeing the other people in my life because of that conflict. And that just feels like, I don't know if it's because of the longevity of that relationship. We've been together for 22 years. Like I'm always making sure that we're okay before I do anything else. And if we aren't, then I need to like work here, right? This is where the energy needs to go for me.
I mean, and essentially, if the person that you started this poly thing with, if y'all are not good, then the whole thing isn't going to work out.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a similar situation, like me and my partner. I think at our base is essentially, it's a check-in, and if we're having a conflict and you're about to go get energy or go give your energy to somebody else. We then both recognize that one, that's going to leave me in a really bad place, probably a worse place. And you also probably won't be able to fully enjoy your experience too, because you're going to be in your head. And so I think we just give each other the space to say, like, if either of us is like, babe, I'm uncomfortable about this one, it's like, all right, you win, you got the hierarchy. I'm going to have to cancel my date. I got to be here for my primary partner right now. That's kind of where we're at. But also, I'm really loving and I'm feeling like I've heard a lot of insightful things today, which is the idea of like, you know, maybe Ash going and getting to see somebody else, fill their cup, come back lovingly and positive, and then we can have a better conversation, you know? So I love all of these can work. And I feel like it's just finding what it is that's going to work for you and your relationship. And also what I love about polyamory, at least the way that me and my partner do it, is it's very much in tune with our gender identities, in which like how we wake up that day is how we want to show up, and let's communicate that to each other or to myself. Like I wake up today, I'm feeling really cunt. I want to wear my crop top and I want to feel more like a woman. I want to feel more feminine. In my relationship, it's like, okay, I don't think I can support you right now being or us being in a threesome or us going to a play party or you being on a date with someone else. Like I really need home base right now. So I think it's just giving each other the space to show up with where we're at. And that's what I really love about polyamory and just like relationship anarchy.
I'm really too jokey because all I can think about is my girlfriend pissing me off and then being like, you know what, I'm going out for a breather. I'm going out on my date with my my other girl. I'll be back and we can talk about it. And you know when you're something's on your chest, you can't help but talk about it to the next person.
Oh my God.
I can imagine going on the date, talking about it, and the person I'm dating going, you know, you're wrong about this. I'm like, both of you are idiots. You know? Both of you.
Call up the third guy.
Hey, you freak. My girlfriend's tripping today.
Like I'm trying to picture like me doing that, getting in an argument, right? You know what, babes, look, man, I got this date. I don't got time for this shit right now. Oh my God, I think my throat would be on the floor.
Oh my God.
It doesn't go like that. It's more like, I know that we're in conflict right now. I have these plans with this other person, but I want you to know that I love you, that you matter to me, that I'm committed to resolving this conflict, and that we can return to this when I return. You know, so it's not necessarily like, well, I'm going to go off and be with this other person. It's more like I'm going to keep my commitment that I made to this other person, but that's not because I don't care about you. I think what's also important that I had to learn in non-monogamy that we don't super get in monogamy, because one of the things that is part of monogamy is that we're supposed to make our romantic relationship like the most important relationship space that we're in. So, I always encourage people when they're coming to me, my clients, and they're like, oh, everybody comes to non-monogamy, the first thing they look for is partners. I'm like, no, look for friends, okay? Flesh out your support system. Because if I'm going through something with my partner and they're off with someone else and they're being with someone else, I have a myriad of people that I can call and be like, hey, I need emotional support. And I'm intimate. I have intimate friendships. I have close friendships. And so they can meet those needs when my partner is not available. So having a fully fleshed out support system is super, super important because you will have a moment where, you need your partner and they're on a weekend with their LDR or they're on an overnight and they're not available to you. And it's learning how to not lean on your partner so much for just being everything for you. But like I said, having a more fully fleshed out system.
I heard when I was in Couple to Throuple, one of the producers told me this beautiful analogy. Well, he wasn't even actually one of the producers. He was one of the people, one of the welfare people who was like taking care of us. They shared with me, they were like, think about polyamory as like you're building this beautiful home with your person, right? You're going to pick out the color of the walls, how many rooms, how many bathrooms, and it's a beautiful home. But sometimes you might want to go to a hotel. Sometimes you might want to go buy another home in another country. Just because you own a home doesn't mean you stay there all day long every day. You have time and space to experience other beautiful places in the world. And if you want to set roots in another place of the world, that's also okay. But you can always go back to like your different places, and each of them means something different to you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. One thing that's happened in my relationship, well, two things happened as far as like conflict when I used to be non-monogamous was I don't know what it was, but I felt the way about something, and I had called my girlfriend, and she was out with who was one of her partners at the time, and even with how I felt, usually before a monogamous relationship, like you got to go home because we need to speak now. I was like, bringing this up and telling her to stop whatever she's doing to then have a conversation with me, knowing the reality of the situation and us and just us being humans, I could see that this is not going to be a great starter to this like conflict resolution. Yeah.
It's a powers play. Yeah.
Right. And then another thing that's also happened, which I would love to toot my own horn about, and I was so proud of, was because my non-monogamy relationship was like literally my first one. And I had let her know when I had an issue with one of my partners, not even her, and then just going to her like, hey, I'm giving my time. It was actually the opposite. Like I was having an issue with my partner, but me and my person were fine. Sorry, I was having issue with another play partner, but me and my person girlfriend was fine. And I had let her know like, hey babe, I had a great time and shit is all great, but I do need to take some time to rectify this relationship with this other person after we're finishing our time. So it just goes to like how I played on like on both sides with everything that y'all said, that even with having your person and having a conflict with somebody else, even being comfortable enough to let your own person know like, hey, I want to rectify this relationship over here, and I'll be right back.
And that's an important skill to learn in polyamory specifically, is how to be in relationships that are in different spaces.
Yeah.
Because in a perfect world, all of your relationships are doing great all the time. But we don't live in a perfect world. So I might have one relationship that's doing really, really well, and one relationship where we're struggling and we're on the rocks.
Yeah.
And I can't stop everything that's going on in my other relationship spaces in order to deal with the one on the rocks, because if I do that, that one will be fine, and then everybody else will be on the rocks,
Yeah.
So it's learning how to exist in relationships in multiple spaces and show up to all the different spaces that your relationships are in. And that's a skill. That's something that we have to learn. It's not something that we're kind of, developed or already, because, we're used to relating monogamously.
Yeah.
Whew, this is
What's
great.
like
Big breather.
I'm curious. This just made me think. What's like the most common thing that comes up amongst multiple partners as an issue within like your polyamorous spaces?
I think it's really hard to say is something coming up commonly, just because, there's so many different circumstances. I would probably say the thing that comes up the most common is people have the idea of what they're going to experience in non-monogamy, and then the reality of what they actually are going to experience is often wildly different. I also think that people struggle with, if you're entering as a couple, because obviously not everybody enters into non-monogamy from a coupled space, but a lot of couples do. I think not really recognizing that polyamory is very much an individual journey. And so even if you and a partner are dating the same person, you each are going to have a different experience with that person. So one of the things that was hardest for me in non-monogamy is experiencing what I called the breaking open of my relationship. It was when me and my husband became two separate individuals, which was just not something that I really considered. Even in our marriage vows, it says the two shall become one flesh. So you move through life thinking that they want to do life the way I do. They want to do, friendship the way I do. They want to do all these things the way I do. And you don't really stop and think. It was one of the spaces where I was like, oh, he's a whole separate human being apart from me. Yeah. He has different ideas. He has different relationship needs. And it was like the first time I was really faced with that. And so like this belief that your experience and your partner's experience is going to be the same is one of those ones that I'm like, okay, let me know how that goes. I remember getting into non-monogamy with my partner and thinking like I was going to have all of these like relationships and partnerships because I'm the extrovert and I'm the social butterfly and he's the introvert and whatever. And I felt like he had way more success than I did when I got in, and it was a mindfuck. Like, I was like, what is going on? So it was really hard for me to navigate that. And so I think that Like I said, people have their ideas for what they're going to experience and what they want to experience. And then the reality of what actually happens can sometimes really, really be jarring. So, yeah.
I think that piece around having different, especially if you have a primary partner and you all having different experiences is such a big one, right? Because if I look at our polyamorous journey, like I've had pretty much 2 partners since we started on this journey, and his just haven't had longevity. And so like that can also feel interesting, right? For people, is that kind of like, why is it that you're out here having these relationships that are like lasting longer and mine are, I'm either not finding people that I'm connecting with, or if I do have relationships, they're shorter term. And I think that can be hard for people. So that's also just a thing that sometimes, like at least what we've experienced, that nobody is saying anywhere.
That was hard for me too. That was my experience as well. Like I had a lot of dates, so dating was easy. But for one, even though I am bisexual, I was largely dating men because they're just easier to find, honestly. And
everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere, really. Yeah, and I didn't have a lot of experience with dating women, so I didn't know how. I didn't even know how to do that, and so. What I found, what my experience was, is it was very easy to get men to sleep with me. But when I wanted to actually have like relationships of substance, like they would literally be like, why would I take you out? You have a husband. That's what your husband does, you know? So when I was just dating whomever, now I restrict myself to the non-monogamous community. So I just don't even date monogamous people at all because I'm just like, why? You know, what's the point? Yeah. So, but at that time I was just like, okay, I'm on dating apps, let me meet people, etc. And when I was meeting men that weren't, you know, non-monogamous, they would be like, okay, well, why would I want to have a relationship with you? Whereas, you know, my husband was dating women. And so he had a harder time finding people to date because a lot of women, you know, once he told them they were married, they were like, no. But when he did find someone, it was like a relationship was very easy for him to form. Whereas like I had all these one-offs and two-offs and whatever, but like finding actual partnership was a struggle. So I was your husband, you know, and that I would have these partnerships, they'd be short-lived, whereas like, you know, he would have partners that lasted a really long time. So like one of his girlfriends, he was with her for like 7 years, you know? And so, and that was challenging because like I said, that keeping your eyes on your own paper, it's hard not to look over and go,
why are you doing over there? Why the fuck you lasting 7 years?
Right, yeah, exactly.
I know I'm here for 13, but how the fuck you get here this long?
Right.
Yeah. Whew. Can we do a deep breath for the I want to let y'all know that was amazing. I knew
Thank
y'all
you.
were amazing
Good
as soon as
discussion.
I touched eyes on each one of y'all. And this truly is the reason why we do this podcast. So like conversations like this can like blast out and people can hear it.
Yeah.
I wish I can speak to y'all forever, honestly. But the essence is that we all have people to go home to. We gotta go. But I do want to have a conversation another time about like how being poly applies to like real life situations like finances, kids, like, you know, traveling, like all of those things, bro. So hopefully soon we can get on like on a Zoom episode or something like that because I'm not going to be in New York. But we can get on a Zoom or something like that and we could like have those kind of conversations. I would love to like dive deeper into that. That would be great. Let's get an outro going, right? Let's all promote wherever we're from and whatever we want to promote and get y'all out of here. All right?
So you can find me on Instagram at LaVitaLoca34. I do a lot of poly education there. My book, oh my God, how did I forget the name of my own book? It's 365 Daily Reflections for the Consensually Non-Monogamous. It's a polyamory devotional. You can find it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, bookshop.org, Thorntree, or Thornapple Press is my publisher. I will also be in London on Sunday. So for the UK peeps, I will be in London. I'll also be at Southwest Love Fest in Tucson, Arizona. I'll be doing a workshop there. And I would like to leave off with a quote by Ram Dass, and it's about relationships. And it says, "Will you help me awaken by sharing your truth with me? It may not be comfortable for me to hear, but that is my work." So let's build relationships that are built on truth. And so there we go.
I love that. You can find me on all socials at I am Dr. Mel. I am on TikTok and Instagram mostly. I do have a coaching program that is opening up in April. May. So if you follow me on social. You will get all of those announcements. I am really that person who will help you do that unlearning, right? I am all about dismantling, decolonizing, helping you, especially as a woman. No knock to the men, but I'm over here serving my women or my female identified people. Just letting go of the things that keep us stuck, that have us still believing these stereotypes and the things that don't allow us to step fully into our truth, including either being non-monogamous, if you would like to do that with your life, or be polyamorous. So if you need some work as you are on this journey, come find me. I also have a journal that's coming out right around the same time as my coaching program. So.
Nice.
Yes. You can find me on Instagram or TikTok at Maximo Extravaganza, no E in extravaganza. You can also find me on Twitter, Maximo Extrava. I'm also a photographer, and I specialize in shooting LGBTQIA plus individuals, specifically by POC, transgender nonconforming people. If you need headshots, if you want to just feel cute, if you need some editorial, whatever you want, hit me up. Also coming up next month? Yeah, we have our next chapter of Susia Queer, produced by Ash and myself in partnership with Susia NYC. So if you want to come check out a really safe or brave queer play space, check out Susia Queer, fill out your vetting form. We'd love to get to meet you. And if you want a cameo, I'm on Cameo now too, because she's a reality star, I guess. If you need a birthday, if you need a shout out, if you need me to read someone, break up with someone, anything you want, you just hit me up. Yeah. And I just want to say thank y'all for having me. Thank you for sharing the space with me. I'm a newbie to this, so it's just really insightful to be here with y'all and hearing all of your insights and experiences. Really humbled to just be in the room, so thank you.
I have one more thing to plug. I'm also an assistant coach for the Intentional Polyamory cohort with Shanae Speaks. It's like kind of like a 6-week polyamory boot camp where we do these 4 pillars. And we help people navigate through some of these like early pitfalls from transitioning from monogamy to non-monogamy. And so if you're interested in having a community to learn how to navigate polyamory with, like I said, Evita Local 34, and I'll have information about the cohort there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So awesome.
Yeah,
Love it.
beautiful people. Susia NYC, Brooklyn Lou, Susia Queer, Susia Femme, Susia Boriken.
I am Orlando himself. You can find me at WH_Orlando Roy. Like I'm on that name for a second. Wow. And we are Lips to Lifestyle. Me, the Big Dick Bad Bitch, my amazing co-host right here, Luis, who holds it down so wonderfully. And this is conversations about the lifestyle from the lifestyle. Peace.
Peace.
I never knew there was a
La like this.